Whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Which car are we gonna take?
Thanks for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show live on YouTube. I appreciate you all being here today. It's almost Friday Eve. We've had a fabulous day. I have a bit of an update on my hunt for my much desired coffee cake. I know this has been a long, drawn out saga. There's been twists and turns, and a lot of heartache. I will get into that at some point during the show. Kay, in Santa Rosa has some news. I'm noticing. I just opened up my comments and I see that. Well, share it with us, Kay. Let us know what it is. Coming up on the show, hopefully Ngaio Bealum, comedian, podcaster, cannabis activist, will join us to kind of weigh in on the news. A lot of news today. The state capitol in Sacramento was shut down. A suspect has been arrested in the Bob Lee murder, and it looks like it was not random. So does that kind of go against this whole negative, drug-addled, homeless guy narrative that's been promoted constantly? PG&E sucks. And now they want to tie our bills to our income. And I'm sure they're doing this out of the goodness of their own heart. I'm sure they're like, let's try to save people money. This isn't to pad our own pockets. No. This is the way to do it to make it fair. Sure, that's what's going to happen. Also coming up on today's show, we'll get into a bit about Twitter. We'll talk about Dianne Feinstein being asked by members of her own party to retire. And then the question, of course, is who should Governor Newsom appoint if she does choose to retire? Because one of the names that's being thrown around is Barbara Lee, who is planning to run for her seat. And at least at last check, she was kind of being outspent by Adam Schiff and Katie Porter. So we'll get into that as well. Also during the show, we'll get into the homeless situation in California. The League of California Cities wants guaranteed money in the California budget. And it's a lot of money in the annual budget. And you tell me if that's what we really need to do. Jefferson Graham will join us in the second part of the show. He has a new app that we should download onto our phones to take those really awesome pictures. We'll talk about the Sabbath. Should you be forced to work on the Sabbath if you're very religious? But how do you prove it? We'll talk about that as well. And then, of course, if you're worried about getting laid off, there's an easy way to find out months before your boss tells you. But before we get to that, and Ngaio Bealum is waiting in the wings, please click that thumbs up button to show support of the show. The super chat is live, of course. You could throw some bucks our way. Just look for the $sign under the live chat box. And of course, you can become a Medorable. You can become one of our monthly Patreon subscribers by going to that website right there, thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com. It has links to our PayPal with the email address there. Also to our merch shop. You see some of it behind me at thenikkimedoroshop.com. All right, we got all the business out of the way. So let's welcome our friend to the show, Ngaio Bealum. And Ngaio, thank you so much.
Greetings from a car in Vegas. How are you?
You're in Vegas right now?
I'm in Las Vegas.
What are you doing in
right
Vegas?
Now. Hanging out with some homies, doing some things, working on some stuff. The usual.
Oh, look at
Checking
you.
the traps.
Living the high life, both literally.
Oh, yeah. Mr. High Life. That's me.
All right, well, then let's get into it so you can get off and go do some more fun things around here. I'm sure the news has reached you in Vegas, though.
Yes.
They found, they have a suspect. And it
wasn't a homeless person. Huh.
And it wasn't a homeless person.
Who knew?
It was apparently a tech person that apparently they may have known each other.
Listen,
they may have been possibly in the same car.
Most people are killed by people they know, first of all.
Yes.
Secondly, I'm not making any speculations as to why two people are driving around in a seedy part of San Francisco at 2:30 in the morning having an argument.
I mean, that is again a speculation. We don't know, and we don't want to speak ill of the dead.
You know, people are
like
people.
It's not the narrative. I just like that it's not the narrative of this homeless, drug-addled person walking the streets. There's nowhere safe. Blah blah blah.
Is everybody who was all upset about that? Are they all going to apologize? The people who were calling for vigilante lynch mobs in the streets to take care of the problem, are they going to apologize now?
No.
Yeah,
not at all.
All right.
It doesn't fit their narrative. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Listen, condolences to Bob Lee and his family and all that stuff. And it's rough out there. You know, anybody can get got at any time. Live every day like it's your last day. Eat every cookie like it's your last cookie.
I like that. We have a coffee cake saga going on, my friend. I've been trying to find this apparently discontinued coffee cake, and it's driving me
Oh no! I hate it when that happens.
Dude, you feel me when you eat something your whole life and then you can't find it anymore.
Yeah.
It's devastating.
My mom was like that with Campbell's pepper pot soup.
Oh, okay.
It's super random soup. No one else liked it except for her, apparently. And then they stopped making it 30 years ago, and she was still mad about it. She was so mad.
Entenmann's cheese-filled coffee crumb cake. I can't find it.
They don't make the Entenmann's cheese-filled coffee crumb. That's a good coffee crumb cake.
That is I ate my weight in that cheese-filled coffee cake growing up. So I'm very bummed about it. We've had a whole saga. I might have to start a petition. I'm sure
you can find the recipe online.
No,
listen.
I want to make it. I want them to make it. Put it
for a small fee. I can make it and bring you over like a month's supply at a time.
You know that it's not going to be the same. You know that it has to be in the box. You have to open it up. I might be better, but it's not going to be the thing that I remember.
Listen, the boxing and service charge is a little extra on top of the small fee, but we can recreate. I have cellophane and cardboard in the house.
There you go. Oh,
right now all of a sudden it's like $200 a cake. Listen, I had to get a graphic designer to recreate the whole label. Then I had to hire a lawyer to fight the trademark infringement people.
It's so we might
have mine would of course have a little weed in it too. So
that would just make me eat more and more coffee cake, which would just kind of send us down.
That's how it goes. You get high, then you get the munchies, and all you have is the coffee cake, and then you get high. It's a loop. You're like the Ouroboros.
It never ends, but it's a fun ride if you can do it. PG&E, that'll sober you up. Did you hear what they're doing?
Listen.
They're going to tie. They want to at least our bills to our income.
Two things. First of all, PG&E shouldn't exist. That's the first thing.
Thank you, Ken.
That's the first thing. They shouldn't exist.
No, they should not.
They should not exist. They're a public utility, and they should not be for profit. Two, half of me kind of understands what they're trying to do. Rich people should pay a little bit more for things, but I don't trust PG&E.
Exactly.
That's the first
exactly.
Thing. Three, why does PG&E need to know how much money I make? Mm-hmm. Who are these guys? I don't know you. Right? You have not proven to be a responsible corporation. So why am I trying to give you my financial information? Right? And also, people lie. Listen, if you live in Silicon Valley and you make $300,000 a year, you could tell PG&E you make $28,000 a year, right. So you only have to pay $15 a month. What are they going to do? They can send the PG&E police to come over? The IRS going to come check your financial statements?
I don't want them digging into my financial statements. I don't want.
And what about the cats who have millions of dollars in stock but only make a nominal salary of $1 a year? Those guys get the smaller rate. So it's just they shouldn't exist. That's all. Everything for me when PG&E starts with PG&E shouldn't exist.
Yeah,
and then we go from there.
They need to be broken up. The CPUC, the CPUC is going to examine it. They are PG&E. It's one and the same. It's like that Spider-Man thing where it's like they're pointing at each other. It's like, you're exactly the same thing. So stop it already.
Exactly. They need to quit. It should be some,
Dianne Feinstein being called to resign.
Yeah.
And Newsom now is getting thrown in because if she does resign, which I don't think she's going to, but if she does, Newsom gets to appoint another senator. And he promised it would be a black woman. So many people are saying it'll be Barbara Lee, who's already planning on running for Feinstein seat.
It's rough. She's got 12 years left or 12 months left, right? Till 2024.
It feels sometimes like 12 years,
She's 89 years old. Father Time is undefeated. You know, it catches up to people all the time. She's fighting the shingles. She's doing the thing. she has lived a life of service, and she's been a pretty good Democrat for the most part. Me and her used to argue about weed all the time, not personally, but philosophically, because I don't think she still has come around to it. Some of her economic policies, maybe not the best, but she's been a steadfast Democrat. She was the mayor of San Francisco through tragic circumstances. In high school, I got to do a command performance for her because I was a little theater nerd. And we had
that's cool.
Right? Yeah. I met her once 50 years ago, or not 50. I would have been 5. But a while ago.
So, I mean, you froze a little bit there.
Ngaio's frozen in time.
Well, at least he's frozen really handsomely right there.
But he always looks so joyful,
Exactly. Well, while he unfreezes, hopefully. If not, he's in his car, Kim, in Vegas. I don't know if you missed that part.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, he's partying in Vegas right now. But you tell me, I mean, do you think, Kim, that it kind of helps Barbara Lee out a lot if she gets the seat? But I don't think Newsom's going to make the appointment because I don't think Feinstein will resign.
Anytime you're the incumbent, even if you just took the seat for the last, year of the term, you always have a leg up, right? So in that sense, it would be a good thing for Barbara Lee. But I was reading this article, and I think I forwarded it to you last night, about the people who are saying that Feinstein should resign versus those saying, no, what are you saying? There's no reason for her to step down.
Right.
And among those saying that she should keep her seat and that we should respect her service and, respect the fact that she's been ill is Nancy Pelosi, who said something to the effect of, listen, when a man gets sick, we give him an award. And I immediately thought of, I know he's not a lawmaker, but Rush Limbaugh, right? Who got sick, he had cancer, and all of a sudden he's given the, Medal of Honor or whatever he was awarded. And you have a woman, she said, that gets sick, and all of a sudden she's cast aside. And so we don't treat our genders the same way. When a woman gets sick, she's outlived her usefulness and her purpose, and you got to step down and go. On the other hand, you've got a very slim majority. It's 51 Democrats to 49 Republicans, and you've had Fetterman out as well. So these votes are coming down to, very slim margins. You've got to have all Democrats present and accounted for. Yes. I understand why it's holding up the business of the day. And I get why people are like, oh my God, step down. Let's get someone in here that can do the job. On the other hand, would they, if you were sick and you had a job, would they just cast you aside?
Well,
no.
I think it's beyond, and I'm going to try to be as fair as possible, because I think the valid point about, gender and if it was a man or a woman is valid, but people have been calling for her to step down even before shingles. This is not a narrative or a concern that people are just all of a sudden coming to, oh my God, a woman's sick, let's kick her out. And we've been talking about Dianne Feinstein's issues for a while. So there's that. And we only have 2 senators.
Yeah.
Half of them aren't working right now. So that is a lot. And again, I empathize. I understand that she wants to finish her term before she retires. I also understand what Ngaio, and I think we've lost Ngaio, but thank you to him. If he's still watching, have fun in Vegas. Thank you for coming. I think being in your car is a little difficult, but making a point about how much she has served and been a good Democrat to the party is true. But at the same time, there is work to be done. It is not about Dianne Feinstein and what she deserves. It is, what does the state of California, let's just take political, what does the Democratic Party need to do now at this very, important moment in time that we can't waste just because we want to be nice?
Right.
It sounds harsh when I say it like that, but there's work to be done. We can't keep dilly-dallying because the Republicans aren't, right? They're not going to have, slow down anything. And we're going to talk in a little bit about what's going on in Texas with their libraries in one county where, we want, they were told they had to put all the banned books back on the shelves. So you know what they're going to do? They're just going to shut the library down.
Yeah.
And it so echoes, the Jim Crow era where they did that. You know what? If we have to segregate the pools or desegregate the pools, then we're going to shut down the pool. We don't want to do it. And so we're losing things. And I know that what Dianne Feinstein would be working on, but judicial appointments are extremely important.
As we now understand more than ever, right?
Ask Mitch McConnell. He has had this in the work. Talk about playing the freaking long game. And that's what they've done.
The lady Beatrice brings up Ruth Bader Ginsburg and says some people must have said the same thing about RBG. My mom can't stop criticizing that she should have resigned the Supreme Court when President Obama was still in office. And I feel like when you have a job that is so critical and involves some strategy, that maybe you have to think about more than just yourself in this scenario.
Exactly. And it sucks because you don't want to end your career. And I'm going to say her political career like this, right? You want to go out. But again, you know, when sometimes, and I'll even say this, there's some people that we know in our lives, right? Especially in our fields, either they're on TV or they're in broadcasting, where they hung on a little too long.
Right.
Like you, or even in sports, right? Like you played 1 or 2 seasons or 1 or 2 contracts too long. You could have quit then at the height, or at least close to it, but you didn't. And so, and I feel like the moment for her to have that, oh my God, what an amazing career. And then she can like kind of transition into retirement. That's past. Yeah. Because she's up there. I mean, you can't, it's not ageist to say 89 is old. 89 is old. There's no question about this, right? You're past the average living age, lifespan. You have served a very, very long time. So I think this whole, you know, moment that maybe she was hoping for has passed, sadly. Right. So if that's true, or at least part of that is true, then do the right thing. And I will say this, I think she should resign. She should resign. She should understand that work needs to get done. If you want to throw your support behind somebody, whether it's Adam Schiff or whomever, fine, that's your prerogative. But then it gets into the question of who would Governor Newsom appoint? And he said that he would appoint a Black woman if he had to appoint someone to replace Dianne Feinstein. And I think the only name that pops into many people's minds is Barbara Lee. And I don't think that that's necessarily fair, but that's the way the cookie crumbles in these cases.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she will have a leg up if the scenario is that Dianne Feinstein checks out and Barbara Lee's appointed, then she will have a leg up on all of this. That, I mean, I don't think that that's a bad thing either. You know, maybe she should. She's got a long storied career as well. I think she's very respected.
I think that anybody that's going to get appointed is going to have a leg up. You can't get past that. Whether it's Adam Schiff, if he appointed Katie, if he appointed anybody, and then they're in the job and they like it and they want to keep it, of course you're going to have a bit of a leg up because you are, like you mentioned, the incumbent. Right. On the other hand, people will also get a taste of what you can and cannot do. And maybe it won't help. You never know, right? Until you're in that situation. And obviously what happens during that brief moment in which you are appointed before you run. Right. Yeah, John Smith, Barbara Lee voted against the Iraq War. Nobody else did.
I don't know if Anonymous, I mean, I think you're right that they don't retire because they're addicted to the power, but I don't know if that's why Dianne Feinstein doesn't want to retire. I don't know if it's because of power or more legacy. Like, you know, this isn't the way she wanted to go out. This isn't the way she wanted to end her career.
Worse? What's worse? I would rather somebody be honest and be like, I want to be able to have a say on what's going on in this country versus I kind of just really want to protect my legacy. Like, no, I'd much rather say you have work still to do than to be like, I expected to end my career a certain way. Sorry. Well,
she's asking for a temporary replacement to sit in her seat on the Judiciary Committee.
Right. And who's that?
It hasn't happened yet.
Oh, she didn't say like, I want this person to kind of sit in?
I don't believe so. No, it was just, find someone to sit in for me on this committee temporarily. I'll be back. Right. Yeah.
David Odell, Barbara Lee, 76, not to be ageist since I'm no spring chicken, but can't we get someone younger? I will be ageist as well, but I hear you. I feel like this will sound ageist, but I'm just going to express a thought that I think a lot of people have, which is we want new blood. We want, this is a great example in my opinion. I want when Mark Zuckerberg's and tech people go before Congress, that the people sitting behind the desk actually know what the hell these people are talking about because they use the technology and they know the technology and they're these natives, digital natives. We need more digital natives in Congress that understand not just the benefits, but the risks involved. And honestly, I believe that a lot of times, and just specifically talking about tech and congressional hearings, staffers are feeding these older people that don't even understand that the way that Facebook makes money is through ads, right? So it's this disconnect between the world that we're living in and the world that they're governing. And possibly somebody younger could be a huge benefit, especially if they're going to be a senator, a U.S. senator for a state as large as California. Now, I'm not saying that Barbara Lee can't do it, but I think David brings up a good point. If she becomes senator and then serves more terms, we start getting into the same area, right? And if we had someone, let's just say like Katie Porter, who is much younger and is raising digital natives and doing all of those things. Now I'm expressing my bias here because you guys know that I'm a Katie Porter fan, but is that wrong to say? Is it wrong to feel that way? I don't want to dismiss the skill and the talent and the political knowledge of Barbara Lee or Adam Schiff or any of them, but these things should be taken into account.
I agree, partially, but on the other hand, when you have when you have someone who's been around as long as Dianne Feinstein or Nancy Pelosi, Barbara Lee even, you get this experience and this kind of real native understanding of the way politics works, of the way Washington works. You know who's good for what. You know who's done what. The quote is, you know who the bodies are buried, right? And so Barbara Lee is, I think, one of these people who gets it, who and you need that kind of person who gets it, who's like a long timer sometimes. I'm not disputing.
Aren't there
that
plenty of long
great,
timers though? Like you can lean on. Like
but
you can
those
ask.
those are the people that really get stuff done, that are able to understand the way things work, that have connections on both sides because they've been around for a while. Those are the people that get stuff done for our state, for the people they represent, and for the country as well. So I don't think you can discount experience like that.
And I'm not. And again, I'm not discounting that experience, but I don't know. It's tough. It's not for me to decide. You know what I mean? Like until it's time to vote, obviously. But if Dianne Feinstein retires, which again, long shot, because like you mentioned, the compromise might be appoint someone in my stead until I can come back. And then who knows if she's going to come back.
Right.
Just on the judicial committee so that they can get that going. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And again, we'll see if the demographics of California will play a role, right? If the fact that we have a generations, honestly, I think it's becoming, who are worried about the fact that they'll even be able to afford to live in the state of California, where you look at people in Congress and they don't look like you or live like you. That they're rich and they have this money and they don't understand what it means to rent your whole life or to really truly believe that you'll never be able to buy a home or you're saddled with college debt. You want to look at your representatives as if they represent you and your interests. And I feel like the disconnect between that is growing at times. That
really doesn't often happen. I mean, the people that are in power are always the people, most often the people that have money, that had opportunity, that have privilege. That's the history of America. That's the way it was set up.
The history of America is not that long in comparison to obviously other countries and other governments. I mean, really, we are still quite new if you really want to talk about history here. Right. And so, if you're like, this is the way it's always been, slavery, there was a video I saw yesterday that was talking about the years of slavery and the year compared to the years when slavery quote unquote ended. And it was longer, obviously, our slave years than this. So that is our history. The Jim Crow era, Ruby Bridges that is still alive, right? I mean, these are the things that are still happening right now. So it's very, very new. And I just mentioning that because things can change rapidly. And If you want young people engaged, if you want to make the changes that we need to see in this country where it comes to income inequality, climate change, fill in the blank, you got to bring the young blood in. You just have to. And so if it's going to be Barbara Lee, it might be Barbara Lee. Maybe, maybe she'll get the young vote. Who knows? But the baby boomers are, they're dying, to put it bluntly. And so this new generation is going to really define what this country is really going to become. Sam says those seats need terms. Yes, term limits. People filling those seats are obsessed with power and prestige and must go. I think anybody, you could say politics to big business to anything. Once you start getting up there, right, people do kind of become obsessed, not only with gaining power, but keeping power. That's just, I think, human instinct. Sam's also talking about lobbying. Getting money out of politics would be huge. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, not spring chickens themselves, but totally understand that dark money, corporate money ruins politics, ruins getting anything done in this country. Sam writes, lobbyists do not want new blood in those seats simply because they invested so much money in manipulating and brainwashing those old farts. Newer, younger candidates would not buy their BS. Yeah, possibly. Okay, so we'll see what happens. I don't know if Barbara Lee is necessarily going to get appointed by Gavin Newsom, Governor Newsom. If Dianne Feinstein retires, though, I think it's a pretty good shot.
Well, he promised, right? He promised that we would get an African-American woman next. That if he had to appoint someone to a Senate seat, he said the next time that's what he would do. Mm-hmm. Right? Am I remembering that wrong? Or?
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah. That's exactly what he said. So who is a Black woman that could possibly replace Dianne Feinstein besides Barbara Lee? That's a name that's kind of out there, right? Unless he just goes really a different direction. I think most people would bet that he would choose Barbara Lee.
I think it would be very surprising if he didn't.
Exactly.
It would, and I think it would be shocking to her. But there are a lot of qualified African-American women who I could see,
But the fact that Barbara Lee wants it already, has expressed the desire to be a U.S. Senator of California, which is a huge job. Right. I just feel like that'd be her. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, from California to Texas. Officials in Central Texas, in one county in Central Texas, they're going to start closing public libraries. Now, this was after a federal judge in Austin ordered them to return banned books to the shelves. Now, this is in, I want to say Llano County, but I'm sure it's Llano County. I don't know.
So instead of keeping the library open,
yes,
because they're upset that the books came back to the shelves, they just want to shut down the library.
Right.
So they just want to take all their toys and go home because they didn't get their way.
Exactly. So this county has a population of 22,000 people. It operates 3 libraries, 9 full or part-time employees, not including the director. Now, again, this is because last year, county residents sued because they opposed the book bans and alleged a literary witch hunt. So a judge in late March ordered county officials to return, and get this, at least a dozen, we're talking like 12 books, to the library shelves that had been removed. Now, of course, it's getting praised, but now they're like, you know what? We might just close the library then. So they're actually going to be talking about it today. They're going to talk about it today. Like the commissioners of the rural county are convening a special meeting on whether to continue or cease operations of the current physical county library system. They've already replaced and put in people that supported the book bans on the commission. So yeah, this is what's happening. And it's scary because we are going backwards. And this is what I wish people would understand more of. What's also been kind of pissing me off is all of these people that ran as Democrats switching parties now that they've been elected, right?
Yep.
Either going independent or Republican. And it's
some cases
scary.
Very slim majorities too. And it's like, come on, you know what you were doing.
But the thing that bothers me the most about it is some of the excuses that they're giving for switching parties, as if, wanting to support the transgender community is so horrific versus one, banning books, right? Not supporting reproductive rights. Those things are, it's okay. It's no big deal. It angers me. I do feel like this was the plan all along, although you can't obviously prove it. But I would be pissed off if I elected someone who ran as a Democrat and then they switched parties to Republican once they'd been elected. I don't know how many people would be reelected under that, but like you mentioned, slim majority. So it actually is. It's possible. But yeah, it's scary times right now. You have to pay attention. Okay, Kim's gonna do some news coming up. Yesterday, there was a press conference by the League of California Cities. And I'll play you some of the press conference. I have some clips. And basically, Cal Cities is asking the state to invest a buttload of money, a lot of money, to the tune of $3 billion in ongoing permanent funding out of the state budget. So every year, there would be this consistent $3 billion that then would go to cities and counties. Now, I'll play you some of the press conference, and then you guys tell me, should the state play more of a role in helping cities and counties build the affordable housing? And then I'll share the story that was actually on CBS of a nun who is housing and providing affordable housing with zero government funding. And if she can do it, do you think we should be able to do it? Please click that thumbs up button before we go to Kim's news. It really helps the show. Again, the super chat is live. Just look for the $ under the live chat box, and you can donate there. I think Wes started us off with a $5 super sticker. So we really, really appreciate everybody that supports the show. And of course, the biggest way to support the show is becoming a monthly Patreon subscriber, or a Medorable, as I like to say. The NikkiMedoroShow.com is where you find the link to Patreon, to our YouTube shows to share with your family and friends, and make sure they subscribe. Also to our PayPal, the email, TheNikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com, and of course, our merchandise shop as well, TheNikkiMedoroShop.com. All right, we are going to talk about housing. Who should pay for it? And would you mind having a consistent amount of money to help cities and counties out in building affordable housing and making it sustainable? That's coming up after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
The man accused of leaking classified Pentagon documents online has now been arrested. The U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland says 21-year-old Jack Texera was apprehended. He is a member of the intelligence wing of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. The Defense Department is calling the recent leak of classified documents a deliberate criminal act. And I do have some sound.
We continue to work around the clock, along with the interagency and the intelligence community, to better understand the scope, scale, and impact of these leaks.
That was Pentagon spokesman Pat Ryder saying the military has stringent rules in place when it comes to access to classified materials, and that this leak really does indicate a violation of those rules. The fate of a widely used abortion pill may soon fall into the hands of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. I have a picture. Yeah, there's Ron DeSantis and his supporters. So this is the 6 weeks, abortions after 6 weeks may soon be illegal in Florida. This bill, and this is not regarding the pill, let me correct myself. This is just abortion in general. A bill was approved by the Florida Senate and the House, expected to pass it with Republicans controlling a supermajority in the legislature in Florida. The bill allows exceptions only to save the life of a woman in the case of rape or incest, but only until 15 weeks of pregnancy. So again, abortions after 6 weeks may soon be illegal in Florida. But also related to abortions, and this is the other story I was thinking of, the fate of a widely used abortion pill may soon be in the hands of the Supreme Court. Attorney General Merrick Garland saying they will be seeking emergency relief to protect access to what he called safe and effective reproductive care. Last week, a federal judge in Texas granted an injunction to stop access, ruling there is evidence the FDA failed to follow the rules for testing. Well, last night, the Fifth Circuit partially rolled that back, ruling the medication should remain on store shelves nationwide, but with stricter limits on access. Speaking of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, still pictured here, he will be visiting Washington, D.C. next week as he's expected to ramp up the run for president. He'll meet with congressional Republicans and will participate in a policy discussion in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday. Let's talk about threats, because we've had a couple. The FBI says it is not aware of any specific or credible threat against Monday's Boston Marathon, but the FBI is asking everyone to be vigilant. This year marks 10 years since the deadly 2013 marathon bombings. Meanwhile, that supposedly credible threat against the state capitol here in California, it is over. The lawmakers are being allowed to return. The building was evacuated earlier. A scheduled floor session moved to a separate building. The initial warning came in from the CHP. They said there was no active shooter inside the Capitol. Reports indicated the threat may have been related to a shooting outside of a hospital in the Sacramento area the night before. Unconfirmed reports suggest the suspect there may have threatened to shoot up the Capitol today. But again, that did not happen. Threat is over. Everybody being allowed to return to the state capitol. So we had a missing persons report earlier for this Nickelodeon actor, Jared Drake Bell, safe now after he was reported missing in Florida. The Daytona Beach police reported Bell missing and endangered earlier today. He's had some trouble over the last few years. Filed for bankruptcy, arrested for a DUI, allegedly abusing a woman he was in a relationship with, and then today going missing. But again, they say he is safe. They have found him. So there's that. In San Mateo County, this could be something. They've got one vote down, one to go for fireworks fines in San Mateo County. Check this out. Not only for setting them off, just for standing by and watching. The San Mateo County Board of Supervisors approving a $500 penalty for those who attend illegal fireworks shows. It would be double for repeat violators within a year. So check out the fireworks, fine. Check it out again, double fine. The new ordinance would also hold parents liable if their child sets off illegal fireworks. Fines would also jump to $2,000 for any display within 500 feet of a daycare, a school, or an animal shelter.
So I think that the whole watching thing, if you're, let's say, like if it's obvious that you're there, but if you're walking down the street and someone's shooting off fireworks, like don't fine me for that, right? If I'm in my backyard and someone's shooting it right next door, that's not my fault. I'm like, I can't do anything about it. But if I have brought out like lawn chairs, specifically going and watching and it's obvious and the cop sees me, okay, that's one thing. But I do like the parent aspect, parent getting fined if your kid is caught. Well, hell yeah. Watch your damn kids.
What if you were just, on the 4th of July, sitting out in the yard, hanging out, and somebody down the street starts setting off fireworks? So are you liable to be cited and fined for just sitting there watching it and not actively picking up the phone and calling police to say, hey, got a report of illegal fireworks over on, East Street or whatever?
But I don't want to get involved. Maybe you just don't want to get involved. I don't want to call the cops.
What if you didn't stand up and say, hey, buddy, you're not supposed to do that. That's against the law. Then do you get the fine? How do you decide, how much do you have to stand up against it instead of just being a spectator?
And what distance do you need to have? Like if I live across the street from a park, right, and they're shooting it off at the park, but I live here and I can't avert my eyes, and on one hand, see, fireworks are so difficult because it's up in the sky. I have to cover my eyes. I'm not enjoying this beautiful sight. Like, it's stupid. They're not going to be able to
I get what they're saying. If there's no one to watch it, then there's probably the drive to do it will be lessened.
No,
right?
I think this is not, I equate this to kind of the sideshows, the vehicle sideshows. Those people specifically go out, they park, they're standing outside their car, they mean to be there. In neighborhoods, no. It's just not like if these were happening at a school where you're not supposed to be, everybody at that school, yes, you could find them. But in a neighborhood, it's like, screw you, man. I'm just sitting in front of my house. Leave me alone.
Yeah. And I don't know how you prove that.
Exactly.
And am I supposed to look away? I mean, it's quite a
No.
spectacle.
Exactly.
So I don't know. Okay, so we talked about this a little yesterday.
Oh, Arnold.
An update on the story today.
Was it really
Former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger will have to answer to city officials now after accidentally, I would say it's not an accident, he filled in a service trench. So Tuesday, video of the actor patching a Los Angeles alleged pothole went viral. The governor said members of the community had been complaining about this hole in the street for weeks before he and his team took matters into their own hands and filled it up. The next day, the city released a statement saying that location is not a pothole, but it's a service trench that relates to active permitted work being performed by SoCal Gas. Officials say the work was expected to be finished in May. Well, I think the governor says don't leave your hole unboarded in the street and do damage to people's cars. We're going to come and fill it up, buddy.
I think that, he has a good point. There's nothing like I'm looking at it and even looking now, it does look like a trench right across the street, right? I mean, it does seem like there's something there, but at the same time, they could put something temporary, put some wood down, something so cars aren't falling into it, damaging their suspension, damaging their cars. You can't just mess up the roads and be like, sorry, deal with it. That's awful. Yeah, I agree with Arnold. If you have to do it yourself, fine. If he gets fined because of it, it's not going to make the city look good. That's all I
think he should go on a pothole tour. Not only his own street, but take that team and, do the whole neighborhood. Go get it, Arnold.
There you go.
I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, so let's talk, my friends, about housing. So there is this League of California Cities, and they held a press conference yesterday. And during this press conference, they were releasing results of a new survey in regards to housing. Now, you'll remember, just to kind of catch you up, I think it was late last year, or maybe early, I don't know, late last year. Governor Newsom had said, I'm not going to give all of these homeless programs in cities and counties any of the money that they expect because we're not seeing an improvement in the homeless numbers. We're not seeing anything that would be called progress, which is true.
And then good money after bad, and the problem isn't solved.
Exactly. And so but then he got a lot of pushback. And obviously we've also been seeing a lot of cities and counties being more aggressive in trying to get some sort of results. So like today here in San Jose, I just saw a headline. They are breaking ground on a new site at Monterey and Branham for interim housing. It'll bring in more than 200 beds for homeless residents. It'll be the city's largest site. Our new mayor, Matt Mahan, has kind of been trying to take this crisis look at it. I was just to kind of a little
caveat. How are you liking him so far? Are you like, oh, okay.
I mean, it hasn't been, obviously hasn't been long enough. I do like the fact that he's putting his face out there. And I'll tell you also this, he was being asked about homelessness and this whole idea of moving people into this interim housing. And this is what I was going to say. It's not as if I'm not going to continue to be a bleeding heart. And these are human beings that shouldn't sleep on the street. But this is where you lose me. And it's this argument. What if there's a place for the homeless person and they don't want to go there? They should be allowed to stay where they want to stay. No, that's where you lose me right there, because you can't just live anywhere you want to. Oh, but they like the freedom. Yeah. Tough cookies. Would I just love to be able to plop my ass down in a Target store and sleep on their beds and be like, it's really comfy here and I have food down the street or down the aisle and I want to live here. This makes me happy. I feel free here. Okay. And I'm exaggerating here. But what my point is if we are going to invest in interim, permanent, hopefully transitional housing for people, they need to take you up on it. Now, the argument is that if you don't, then are you criminalizing homelessness? And I would respond, then you're no longer homeless. Then you're choosing to be unhoused and then you're trespassing. See, that's how it happens. If I have a place for you to go and you are refusing, then wherever you are that you're not allowed to be because it's not housing, you are now trespassing on. And that's what we're criminalizing. We're not criminalizing you not being housed. We have a house for you. We have a room for you. We have a shelter for you. You might not like it. But again, there's many people that live in many locations that they don't particularly like. That
Do you
doesn't mean you
think?
can live anywhere you want to.
Do you think that because some of these housing rules, if you're gonna come to the housing, you can't drink, you can't do drugs, what have you.
Right.
Do you feel like a person should be allowed
Mm-hmm.
to drink themselves to death,
Mm-hmm.
to overdose, to wreck their body with drugs because they're gripped by addiction, but they don't want to stop, or they don't have the will to stop, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever has happened in their lives has made them, want to self-harm instead of seek help? Do you think that should be, if you want to do that to yourself, you should be able to?
I mean, of course, you can do that. But I would also say, if we're talking about moving homeless people into shelters and they have rules such as you can't do drugs or drink alcohol, and you violate those rules,
Right.
then I wouldn't say that's necessarily, I'm not going to put the blame solely on the person with the addiction, because they're
Right.
obviously addicted. Then we need to find different type of housing for people, or a substance abuse place or a rehab facility that can deal with not only the homeless, but also the homeless person that's addicted. You can't throw an addict into regular housing and expect them to thrive. It's just
no, and not everybody wants help. Not everybody wants to go to treatment. And so I guess instead of, and Calvin's talking about care court, and, basically forcing people to get the help that they need,
yeah,
which I would love to have happen. But what is it they say, that if you're not ready to stop, you won't, like, if you're not ready to accept the help,
yeah, exactly.
it's not going to work for you. So why don't we approach it in a different way and say, okay, well, we understand that you don't want to leave the street because you don't want to stop drinking, you don't want to stop doing drugs, but you still can't sleep on the sidewalk and poop on the street.
Right.
So, and how do you get around that to give people a shelter where they can still do whatever they want to themselves without the state condoning, like these safe injection sites, the state condoning people doing drugs and hurting themselves? I mean, there has to be a way or a place that we can say, here's this place for all homeless people, regardless. No rules. Do what you got to do. Just get off the street. But I don't know how to.
That's not going to happen.
I don't know how to do that.
You can't state sanction people doing that, because
then that's our problem. Then
Right.
That's where we're always going to be stuck with the homeless crisis. That's where we're always going to have this issue, because there are people that don't want to be helped. And so if they don't want to be helped, how do we say, here's a house anyway, regardless of whether you don't want to follow the dry rules of the shelter? Here's a place for you to be. Here's a crazy warehouse that everyone can live in.
But you don't. You put them in a rehab.
But then what a waste of money, because if they don't want to be helped, it's not going to even work.
Freaking bad.
So it's a cycle that we're just throwing money at these people who are going right back onto the street.
It's better to try with a rehab facility than to do the opposite, which is just give them a house and be like, kill yourself with alcohol and drugs, right? You have to try. And I think people would rather, and I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, I would rather have my tax dollars go into a system in which homeless people aren't just given the keys to the shelter where they can destroy the place and themselves,
right,
versus coming up with something like the care court, where obviously you are not able to take care of yourself because you're addicted to drugs or alcohol, or you have a mental illness. So you have to go into this place, and maybe you have to stay in that place for a long time. Maybe you have to transition from a rehab facility to maybe, I don't know, a work kind of camp where, okay, you're still dealing with your addiction, but you're going to get a skill at the same time. I feel like we can do something like that. It's going to cost a lot of money. And
that's
so
the thing is, okay, I don't know how much it is for an alcohol or drug treatment program, but I know it's not cheap.
No.
It's probably in the thousands, right?
And we need a lot more people to work in that field.
So if it's in the thousands, and we know that Joe is addicted and doesn't want help, and is probably coming right back out of rehab to find the nearest crack dealer, then why are we as a society spending, I'll just pick out a number, 10 grand on Joe's recovery until Joe says, I'm ready for help. I need help. You're muted.
The reason why you can't do that, and in my opinion, I don't want that, is because then we're living in what we're living in right now, right? That's basically what's happening now, is there's no place for this person to go to get help, or they don't want to go to a place that gets help. And so they're just doing their drugs and alcohol on the street. They're not dealing with their mental illness on the street. And we don't like to see it anymore. Right. So there needs to be at least an attempt, right? I think we need to attempt. But like you mentioned, it costs a lot of money. And that is why the California League of Cities is calling for that $3 billion. So here's a little bit of the press conference. Now, the woman that is speaking, her name is Carolyn Coleman. She's the executive director and CEO of the League of California Cities. And I'll play you two clips. The first one is addressing the request that they're making to the city, to the state. And you guys tell me, is $3 billion too much or not nearly enough? Here we go.
Going today, as Rachel mentioned, by city officials from throughout the state and our Cal Cities leadership to make a simple but critical request to the governor and the legislature. We need you to find a permanent home in the budget for $3 billion in ongoing funding that will help our cities prevent and reduce homelessness across the state. $3 billion. We will also use those resources to help boost, importantly, to help boost the production of affordable housing across our state.
So $3 billion. Okay. Now, what would they use that money for? Here's some more from, again, Carolyn with the California League of Cities.
In that survey,
talking about
nearly 85% of cities report that they have implemented programs to prevent and reduce homelessness. 8 in 10 cities are investing general fund dollars to do this. However, the demand for housing and services are outpacing their efforts alone, straining capacity and draining resources for all of the essential services that our cities provide. Nearly 9 in 10 cities have budget concerns over their ability to provide the services that our homeless residents need in the long term. And when asked about the barriers to progress, well, they include limited supportive housing options and a lack of ongoing funding. Now, city officials are making progress, and they want to be a strong partner with the state to help support our unhoused residents and to keep all Californians in their homes. But without a dedicated, ongoing funding stream, little progress can be made to address what we all know is a crisis that is decades in the making.
So there's her argument. We can't make progress because we can't depend on funding year after year, which I get, right? It's like, okay, we have this plan. We want to do this project. We want to hire these people. But then all of a sudden the bottom of the funding falls out, right? And they can't seem to make it happen. Are you guys buying it? Let me go to some of the comments, because the Lady Beatrice says $3 billion is going to be enough for housing and mental health services, but for how many people? And then Randy asks, what are the metrics being used to determine if that $3 billion is successfully being spent? And I'll tell you this, I watched this press conference yesterday because they posted it on Facebook. So I watched it when it was done. And one of the reporters asked that question. Like, Governor Newsom was going to pull all this funding because he wasn't seeing progress. You know, what do you say to that? And they're like, their answer was literally a non-answer. And that's what concerns me. They basically said, if Governor Newsom wants to see, the metrics, we'll be very happy to show him. Well, I'm pretty sure he asked for it. And when he saw what you gave him, he didn't like it. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith that I think, honestly, that it's because the state is so big. Obviously, the problem is huge. But also, I think there's a lot of fat. I think there's too many organizations trying to do the same thing, and they're all fighting for similar dollars. When what we really need, in my opinion, is, somebody had mentioned there's 3 types of homeless people. There's the people that just lost their job, can't afford housing. There's those people. And then there's those that are mentally ill. And then there's those that are drug addicted, right? So there are those types of people. And then I will even say a fourth one. Then there's people that just, they don't want to live on the grid. But I'm not going to talk about those people because usually those people, you don't see them because they don't want to be around us. Right.
Right.
So let's talk about the homeless and the drug addicted.
Or what about, and maybe this is covered by your 4 groups, but what about the family who really doesn't have the money for a house, like who's tries to work, they have a minimum wage job, the landlord raises the rent or the pandemic hits, and all of a sudden they just need a leg up. They just need someone to come in with a couple months rent or a job help, employment help. They just need, those are the people we can affect. Families with, moms with kids, single mothers trying to make it work. What about that category? Like elevate those people to the top, the people you can actually step in, give them some money, have someone actually help them find an apartment where they can afford the rent, or help them find a job that can pay what they need to pay, help them find a place where their kids can be watched while they go to work for low or no cost. Help those people get a leg up. Let's start there.
And I agree. And I do. And I know this isn't universal, but I do know that some of these especially transitional housing organizations, a lot of those people, even though there's obviously a wait list and things like that, those are the people they try to, because they can, obviously that could be a check mark of done on a family. Those are not easy, but they're easier. You're not dealing with this added problem of a drug addict or somebody that is mentally ill. And that's the problem, is that the drug problem and the alcohol problem and the mental health problem in this state is really hindering a lot of progress. So that's why I have been optimistic, but very apprehensive about the care court, because while it's all fine and dandy to say, this is what we need to do, if we live in this utopia, we'll have all of these rehab facilities and mental health facilities. The human infrastructure we know is not there. Even if we put $3 billion into the annual budget, if you don't have the trained staff to handle this very tough job, you're definitely throwing good money after bad. That's just going to have to happen. I don't want to see homeless people filling up jails. That is not the answer.
Right.
But I do think that if we can build enough interim housing to get these people at least a shelter, so we're not violating the law, right, in California, where you can't force somebody to move if there's no place for them to go. If we have a place for them to go and they still refuse, then there has to be a consequence for that, because then you're trespassing. You just
we have to do something. We have to do something different. Obviously, what we're doing isn't working.
No.
Obviously, all the money, I mean, the quadrillions of billions of dollars, and look at the street.
Yeah, exactly. It's and I'm trying to play you this as we were talking. I'm trying to play you this news report, but maybe I'll play it after we talk with Jefferson Graham, because and I'll just save it for after Jefferson Graham. But there's this nun that's able to do it. And the reason I want to play it is because there's a lot of people that have been able to make something work in a small neighborhood, which is obviously easier to do than an entire state the size of California. But there's one other way that she outlines where she's saving money on getting these people housed. And I think that's where we need to go.
Okay.
But again, freaking NIMBYs, you guys need to get it together, because some of the things you may not like to see, but I don't know about you, if it was more affordable housing or more housing encampments, I'm going to go with the housing. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to deal with more people because they're here already. Yeah, it's so complicated, so tough. And it's so frustrating, because I do love California and I do love the Bay Area, but we have to do something about this, people. We really, really do. Okay, so we're going to switch gears after Kim's news. Jefferson Graham is here. We love talking to him on Thursday. His show, Photo Walks TV, starts on YouTube in an hour. So at 2:00, right after the end of the show, hop on over to watch his show. And he's going to give us some more tips and tricks with our phones. There's a new app where you can get really cool photos with a long exposure. And he has some great examples. He sent me some pictures, so we'll be showing some of those off. Again, click the thumbs up button. Somebody was mentioning in the comments to get that done. It's easy. It's cheap. It's free. I mean, you can't get cheaper than free. Just click the thumbs up button. Show your support for the show, even if you do it on replay. We really do appreciate it so very much.
I have to tell you something.
Okay.
I have really been enjoying reading not only the comments during the live show, but comments during the after show. So if you are listening to the podcast, or if you're listening, watching after the show is over, which I think a lot of people do.
Most of them do,
And
yeah.
don't, you think we don't see the comments? We do. You participate in the show too. Please comment on, what do you think about this homeless crisis? What do you think about things? Love to go in there and respond and see what you're saying.
Exactly. Anonymous, smashing my thumb requires 2 calories of energy. It's just too much. I love the sarcasm. Thank you, my friend. All right, yeah. Click the thumbs up. We'll talk to Jefferson Graham right after Kim's News.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Oh, this this newscast could be sponsored by you. We are looking for sponsors on the Nikki Medoro Show, and you can email us at thenikimedoroshow@gmail.com to talk about amazing sponsorship opportunities, because I would love to be promoting your business right now. But let us begin with AI. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer now spearheading efforts to regulate artificial intelligence technology. The New York Democrat unveiling a new regulatory framework for AI technologies. He says this framework outlines ways to prevent potentially catastrophic damage to our country, while also allowing the U.S. to lead in technological development. This comes as these companies have recently rolled out chatbots like ChatGPT. Tech leaders, including Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, all recently signing a letter calling for a 6-month pause on AI developments, citing profound risks to society and to humanity as well. He's back. Former President Donald Trump back in New York today for another deposition in a $250 million civil lawsuit. The state's Democratic Attorney General is alleging fraud by former President Trump and his company. It comes roughly a week after his historic arraignment on criminal charges related to hush money case payments, allegedly to cover up at least 2 affairs, if not more. Kentucky authorities are confirming a call was made to 911 by the mother of the Louisville mass shooter as he opened fire at a downtown bank. Imagine how hard this call was to make. The mother telling dispatchers Monday morning her son had a gun and was headed to the Old National Bank on Main Street. The gunman ended up killing 5 people and wounding more than a half dozen more before being shot to death by police. But the mother did pick up the phone and say he's headed there with a weapon. The weekly jobless claims in the United States are up. The Department of Labor says the number of Americans filing unemployment insurance claims for the week ending April 8th was up 11,000 from the previous week to now 239,000 people on unemployment. The increase bigger than expected. It is the highest level for initial claims since January 15th. And I almost don't want to do the story, but I kind of have to because it's out there and we should know about it, right? California Congresswoman Katie Porter is now denying claims that she is verbally and physically abusive. Porter's ex-husband, Matt Hoffman, and the Democrat who is running for the Senate went through a contentious divorce in 2012. Hoffman claimed he was the victim of Porter's repeated expletive-filled emotional abuse and physical attacks, which he says included Porter dropping a pot of steaming hot potatoes on his head.
Right.
The claims are resurfacing after Porter staffers went public with what they described as her toxic, emotionally abusive management style.
I think, when I mentioned this yesterday, again, she has custody of her kids. This came out years and years ago. They both had restraining orders on each other. And if you do read the Daily Mail article, when cops came to the house, they did not find evidence to support the ex-husband's claims. And so this just seems like a nasty divorce and people probably trying to dig things up to hurt her chances of becoming senator. I mean, it's politics at its worst.
Yeah, it really is. This is good news because this little girl we've been talking about has been found safe in the Los Angeles area. Yay. The CHP says the grandmother's ex-husband kidnapped 5-year-old Faith Harris. Officers say 84-year-old Orion Memot flew the child from North Carolina to California on April 3rd. They sent out this emergency alert, and the CHP has found this little girl. They haven't said where, but they do have her. A woman is suing Sean Diddy Combs, and the judge in the case says she needs to shore up her complaints in court. The judge says this former nanny first needs to use her own name in court documents as opposed to Jane Doe, because she's used her name in several other places. So once you do that, your name is open. The judge also tells Raven Wales Walden her request for punitive damages is vague and needs to be file to be revised. She needs to file a revised complaint, I should say. Wales Walden originally sued Diddy, Combs Enterprises, and 3 other companies. She alleges pregnancy discrimination, violation of the pregnancy disability law, retaliation, and various state labor code violations. So we'll see if she's successful. The Washington Commanders are being sold for $6 billion.
Really?
Well, yep. According to sports business trade publication Sportico, owner Dan Snyder reached a deal with a group including Wall Street giant Josh Harris and NBA star Magic Johnson.
Wow.
Owns the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia 76ers. But yeah, the Washington Commanders sold. Again, it's $6
I'm so glad. Dan Snyder's an asshat. So that's good to hear. They don't have to hear his
now
name.
Magic Johnson's the owner, one of the owners. This report is sponsored by you, really.
Yes,
the show is crowdfunded, the newscast crowdfunded, and we really need your support. Thank you for being here with us, chatting with us, spending your time with us. If you can financially support the show, we'd appreciate that as well. Check out the website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. You got the PayPal link, you got the Patreon link. That's super helpful. And of course, YouTube chat is open, live, and ready for business. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Yes, this is the second half of the Nikki Medoro Show. Please click that thumbs up button. We always do appreciate it. And yes, the super chat is live. Calvin gave $20 and a message from Santa to Jacob.
Cheer up, Jacob. Love Santa.
Cheer up, Jacob. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Wes, for a $5 super
Hey, Wes.
chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you so very much. We really do appreciate it. And we appreciate our friend Jefferson Graham joining us on Thursdays. Hello, Jefferson. Now, of course, you can find Jefferson Graham on YouTube. His show starts right at the end of this one at 2 o'clock or anytime because of the magic of YouTube. Photo Walks TV. And you take amazing photos simply with your phone. And today we're going to be talking about this new app that came out that you are really loving right now. And I'm surprised because normally you're like, it's already on your phone. You don't have to download an app.
No, I like apps too. This one is called Reheld, and it lets you do long exposures handheld instead of having to use a tripod. It's pretty magical for certain types of shots.
Okay.
And
I took some. Now, you sent me some pictures, right?
Mhm.
And this is you using this
Yeah,
app?
this morning. I took them all
Okay.
this morning.
Okay. So here's the first one that you sent me.
Okay. See the difference between
yeah.
the water on the bottom versus the top?
So now the top one is the one that
Regular.
you use the app with, right?
No, the top one is the regular one. The bottom one flattened out the water and made it all dreamy and milky.
Okay. So now explain the benefit of using long exposure. What are we looking for when we use a long
Well,
exposure?
I think if you show the other ones, you'll see a more dramatic difference.
Here, hold
So
on.
go to the next one. Okay, so look at the water on the left at the pier versus the water on the right. You should see it looking dreamy and milky, and it looks pretty cool, and it looks different than the flat look of the normal shot. You know, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. A lot of photographers really like it, and for them to get that effect means showing up, putting the camera on a tripod, setting it up for a really long exposure, and standing there for 2 to 3 minutes, maybe even longer, to get that effect. And now you could do it handheld.
Here's another picture that you sent me. Yeah. So it does look really cool. So it kind of looks even, I want to use the word smoky kind of effect on the water versus the quite literal look of the water that you could take with your.
So for waves, for waterfalls, there was another thing that I did at the beach. There was one of those trucks that was going back and forth, cleaning up the sand. But when I did a long exposure, he disappeared.
There you go. That's a
so that was pretty cool. The app cost $8 and is well worth your time. The alternative of getting something like this is using live photos on the iPhone and clicking on long exposure, which is kind of a hit and miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then the other thing is night mode. You could do similar things, but it's an automatic thing that kicks in on the iPhone. You never know. You can't will it to go on. Apple has to decide that it's so dark that it's time for night mode.
Oh, okay. And so when you're looking at something, how do you know when you should use a long exposure? I mean,
okay. The long exposure is waves, waterfalls, rivers, lakes, and then the car shot. The nighttime car shot. You pick up the paper. It's in every day. It's an urban scene of cars flying down the street with these big streaks, right? Right. You've seen it. You use this app, you'll get it. If you took a normal picture, you're not going to get it. Now, there are other apps that let you do it. There's one is called Even Longer, but you have to be on a tripod for it. So what's really cool is that you don't have to be on a tripod, and you can hold the shutter open for 10 to 30 seconds.
Yeah, and again, you can find Jefferson Graham on social media, of course, and Photo Walks TV. But you had and I don't know if this was using the Reheld, you were on the beach and you were walking and it looked like you were in a dream. What were you doing to get that shot?
Right. That was where I was walking on the moon. Basically,
something like that. Yeah, it looked so cool.
It was the craziest thing. So that Insta360 camera that I have that is over here, but I can't grab it. It is a different camera, and they showed me some things that you could do with it, which is sky replacement. That's basically it. So all I do is I put that camera on a tripod and I walk. And then I edit it afterwards. I transfer the footage to the phone, and then I do it in the phone. And did you see the other one where there were 30 of me walking in a circle?
I don't think I got that. Now, did you put this on your Facebook page? Where did you remember?
Yeah, it was Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
I'm gonna try and bring it up as you're talking about it, so that people can know what we're talking.
Instagram, about. You should really be able to find it. It was should be the second. I did a thing about Chinatown, and then these crazy Insta360s were right after that.
Yeah, because it looked really cool. Now, do you need fancy schmancy editing stuff to do stuff like that?
Yeah, you need an iPhone, an iPhone or a Galaxy, and but you do need to buy the 360 camera, which is $450. But you could do so many amazing things. I'm actually working on a how-to video so that I could show people how to make it.
Look at that. There he is. Look at that.
That was me walking from here to there.
That is so cool. So you edited the sky to look like that.
I clicked a button and I got sky replacement. Can you see the multiple Jeffs in there too? It should be next to it.
So okay, let's see. Let's go. Oh wait, maybe the other way.
It reminds me of that
movie.
We go. Look at all the Jeffersons.
That's really funny.
The sky, though, reminds me of that movie with Jodie Foster. Was it Contact?
Yeah.
Where she's on the perfect world and the sky and all the stars so clear. Beautiful.
Yeah. It is so cool. I really
and the
like
multiple me's was I walked in a circle, period. That's it. And people on the beach were saying, "What are you doing?"
Right?
Why are you doing this?
And you see the tripod shadow right there. So you just had it set up right there and you just kind of walked. Okay. That's
and then you do the crazy thing at the end. Yes.
Right. That is really cool. I like that a lot. Okay. So what else is coming up on your show today?
We're talking about scanning. We're talking about scanning old photos and negatives and slides and archiving your old videos. I've got the guy from scanmyphotos.com who's going to tell you all about the pricing, how to get them the stuff, And the resolution, I always get a lot of questions about this. Even though we're living in a digital age, we still have a lot of analog stuff all over our house, and we need to get it archived. This is a really good way of doing it. His service, there are other services as well. And we're going to take your questions in real time.
How do you scan all of it? I mean, do you use just?
I recently sent him. I did a box of slides and negatives. I saw pictures that I took when I was a teenager. If I remember them, I don't remember them because it was all new to me and it was really interesting. And I mean, pictures of my mom in her 20s, and yeah, it's fascinating.
So what? Okay, so just to give people a tease, you send your actual physical pictures to this company, and they do it for you.
And they do it for you, and they send you a downloadable link. In fact, I was in Japan when I got the link, and I was going through the pictures while I was in Japan, which was kind of fun. I just came back from Japan, as you know, and I've been working on a bunch of videos about the Japan experience. This weekend will be Osaka, which is Japan's second largest city, considered to be the street food capital, and also to have the friendliest, most outgoing people, as you will see in the video.
Oh, that is awesome. All right, Jefferson Graham, Photo Walks TV. Go check him out at the end of this show. So in about 45 minutes, look at him. Look at that happy face. He's in his happy place right there. Check it out. Photo Walks TV. Great show. Tips and tricks and all kinds of fun stuff to do with your iPhone or maybe even a fancier phone. Jefferson Graham, thank you so much. And we'll tune into your show in about 45 minutes.
All right. Thanks, Nikki and Kim.
Thanks, Jefferson. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that's really cool. I need to do more fun things with my phone. You know what I mean? All the tips that Jefferson gives us. Yeah. We need to do that. I love
and it's a lot of stuff I wouldn't even think of. And then he mentions that a lot of things I didn't even know were so easy to access on my phone. And he's like, hey, check this out. And all of a sudden it opens up this whole new world for me I had no idea existed.
Well, the thing that gets me about iPhone specifically, or I only have iPhone, so I don't have Android experience, is you would think for paying as much as you do for the phone, you wouldn't have to like seek out the information regarding the tips and tricks.
It
comes with the whole damn thing.
It comes with a user's manual, right? A little pamphlet. Who reads that? Sure, it does in the box. No one ever looks at it.
You mean that little thing that's like this big that you need a magnifying glass to see? Yeah, it doesn't come with everything on there.
No, it's easier to learn it from Jefferson Graham, right?
Exactly. That's why you need shows like Jefferson Graham. So again, Photo Walks TV right here on YouTube every Thursday at 2:00. Make sure you subscribe because it's an awesome show, and we just love having him on the Nikki Medoro Show to tease us with that. Okay, so let's go back to what we were talking about in the first part of the show, which is housing. I want to play you this news report. It's by CBS News, and it's about this nun. And this is the thing. The reason why I want to play it so much is sometimes the best ideas are not what you're already doing, or it is what you're doing, but on a smaller scale. And maybe the answer to solving this problem is by doing something like this nun is doing, which is not to look for help outside, like not knocking the California League of Cities. They need money. They're trying to band together and ask for this dedicated funding, but to do what this nun is doing and just taking the bull by the horns, kind of figuring it out yourself. So here's this report by CBS News.
But a local Catholic nun has been taking this housing crisis on in her own unique way. And as Len Ramirez shows us, she's actually transforming her formerly crime-ridden neighborhood without any government funding at all.
So do you want to meet my kids?
You have to move fast to keep up with Sister Christina of Redwood City's North Fair Oaks neighborhood. That's because this 67-year-old Dominican nun runs a private elementary and middle school.
No, I love you too. There you go.
A food pantry, a used clothing shop,
whatever type of clothing they need,
an after-school youth center,
180 kids after school,
and 17 houses and apartment buildings.
17. This is one of our first, but not our
all
first.
Clustered around her St. Francis Community Center, and all for low-income families in her neighborhood.
We really strongly believe that low-income housing does not equal substandard housing. It cannot. That's just not what we're about.
And as if all that wasn't enough, she's just starting her biggest project yet, building a 40-unit, $20 million modular prefab apartment building from scratch.
Prefab because it's faster, it's more efficient, and it's cheaper.
There you go.
And those things are all attractive to us because faster the need is now. It's not 10 years from now.
Right.
The project will bring the total number of low-income housing units she's created to 300, and she does all
300.
this with big and small private donations. She's debt-free and takes not a penny of public money.
Look at that.
When you're able to tell the story of this amazing neighborhood, that people are interested. And when they can come at any time and see how their money is invested and they can see their money in action, then they're interested. So we have a lot of donors. Some are smaller donors, some are very large donors, but we're blessed to have their trust.
When Sister Christina came to Redwood City 23 years ago, this neighborhood was a hotbed of crime, drugs, and gangs.
The gang affiliations were not covert at all. They were very overt.
She's been slowly transforming the neighborhood into a place where families thrive and feel safe.
And this was a place that people used to throw beer bottles and refrigerators and sofas, and then sometimes they would even set the stripped cars on fire. And so we decided to build a community garden.
She works long hours to make it all happen, but Sister has no thoughts of slowing down.
Retirement sounds boring to me. You're so cute.
Her cause is improving the lives of everyone around her.
If we don't safeguard places like this for people who are our beloved nannies, our housekeepers, our, unskilled labor, it won't work for any of us.
I mean,
it's
really.
a great story. It's a great story. I love the fact that she uses prefab homes to kind of reduce the cost and speed it up. That's a great idea. And it's in Redwood City, people.
Can we just put Sister Christina in charge?
Well, that's the whole thing. We need people like her and the donations, right? I mean, she took her specific neighborhood. Now, it wasn't fast as far as like getting everything out. It was a slow process, but think about all of the places that she's been able to build and the people who have been supporting her. Now you can take that and you expand on it, and then you're going to start running into problems. You're going to run into neighborhoods that don't want it.
Right.
Obviously, this neighborhood did. So it's just.
Well, I mean, do they want this? Where she's talking about, homes for people that are low income don't have to be substandard, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Because that's what people don't want in their neighborhood. They don't want a bunch of fallen down shacks in the back, right?
Yeah.
So if you build homes that are of quality, and if you have people in them that then, are feeling some type of pride of having their own home and being in a place that's nice, that's a whole different ballgame. That can change someone's life around completely.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they're in there, you start giving them help to find jobs, to get education so they can better themselves. All of a sudden they're out to the somewhere even better, and you've got the new people coming in. And then instead of the doom loop, you have a great loop, right? Yeah. Of people succeeding and excelling. And I just feel like that's awesome. So why not have her share those ideas with other cities? Why not put somebody like that in charge in San Francisco?
Look what Randy says. He's like, working inside her with government bureaucracy would probably cause her to quit in a short time. There's truth there, Randy. There really, really is, because, and that's probably why she doesn't take government funding. There's a lot to be said for that. It's just like, you know what? Government, stay the hell out of it. Yeah. I'm going to figure out how to do it. I'll do it with donations. I can sell what I'm doing to people on a one-on-one basis versus the government coming in and having their hands in everything and mucking it all up and making it more difficult. So yeah, possibly. Now, someone had mentioned earlier, Anonymous, prefab isn't earthquake proof. I don't know the prefabs that she has, but there are prefabricated homes that are earthquake.
I would imagine, Randy and Anonymous, that she does have to deal with a lot of regulations and a lot of red tape. You can't put up a structure in Redwood City and have people live in it unless it's properly, dealt with and meets all the codes and whatever. Yeah. So, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, prefab homes, you could just Google that they're earthquake. Sometimes they're even stronger depending on the materials used than conventional homes. Look, the housing in the United States, it started as manufactured homes. If you look at the history of how we built homes in the United States, it started prefab. You would open up, I don't know if it was Sears, but something like that catalog, and you would see homes that you could buy that were, prefab. They would bring in the walls. And then we moved away from that. And it makes it longer and sometimes more expensive to do it that way. So yeah, I definitely believe that if they're building any sort of project, Kim's right, and they have to meet certain levels of safety if you're gonna have people living in. What you don't want is a bunch of, geez, can you imagine a bunch of low-income housing that just crumples because it's prefabricated homes in an earthquake? No, that's not going to happen. Okay, we're coming up on the bottom, but I want to tease this story. And we'll probably continue it. And then don't worry, in the second part of the show or the second half of this hour, I want to talk about getting a warning ahead of time on whether or not you're getting laid off. Now, this has been in the news, but I decided to look up, just kind of try to see who's on the list of layoffs, because you can find out months before your company tells you that layoffs are planned. And so we'll go through some of the list and I'll name some of them, and some of them quite interesting to see on that list. So that's coming up. But first, talking about jobs in general, the Supreme Court will likely be hearing an argument over what days you can automatically have off. And it all revolves around this one guy, Gerald Groff. He's a former U.S. Postal Service letter carrier. And for the last 7 years in rural Pennsylvania, he always had Sundays off because of his religion. He's a Mennonite, a former Mennonite missionary, a son of a truck driver. In 2019, his boss told him, you either come into work on Sunday or you lose your job. And so next week, he's going to ask the U.S. Supreme Court to require employers to be more accommodating of religiously observant workers, including the right to skip shifts on the Sabbath and still keep their job.
Okay.
What do you think about that? You think that you should be able to look at your boss and be like, look, I can never work Sundays because of my religion?
Yeah. I mean, if you really have a religion that, dictates that, sure.
But how do you prove it?
Do you have to? I mean, because then you got somebody like me who's like, I'll take any day you got.
Okay.
Good. I'll take the hours. Bring it in.
How do you, and I guess I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate, because of course there's going to be people that are like, I'm not part of any religion. Then there's people that are, I'm very religious, I don't work on the Sabbath. And then there's going to be this third group that just want Sundays off. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm part of that religion. So then how do you separate the cheaters from the believers? Right? Like, because it could be very easy for you to be like, I'm sorry, my religion tells me I can't work every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's my religion. Tell me that I'm wrong. And then business has a problem on their hands.
Right.
So how do you do that?
Don't you think when you hire someone, you ask what their availability is?
That was my other thing. Yes. But what if they're like, we need somebody that works weekends? Should and you say, I don't work Sunday, then they don't give you the job. Is that religious discrimination?
No, because the business has to maintain its hours. So you're not a fit for that position. There are plenty of positions in the world that don't require you to work on a Sunday.
I love
So
this.
take one of those jobs.
Chris says, have a priest write you a note. Yeah, that's actually pretty good, actually. I guess it just, I'm being a negative Nancy about the whole thing. When I read this, I was like, there's going to be a bunch of cheaters. There are going to be so many cheaters that just don't want to work on the weekend and said, my religion stops me from doing so.
Right.
Because then how far do you go with it? If you're Catholic or Christian, or you celebrate Christmas and your business stays open on Christmas, should you be allowed to take it off because of your religion every Easter? I know some people take time off for Passover and other religions. How far do you go with this if you're going to give Sundays off to everybody that doesn't want to work on the Sabbath? Now, federal law requires employers to accommodate the religious beliefs of workers unless it would impose a quote unquote undue hardship on the business.
Right.
The USPS says Groff's refusal to work on Sundays imposed a significant cost on operations. They allege the absences created a tense atmosphere and bred resentment towards management, and that the need to find substitutes was time consuming. And 2 federal lower courts agreed. So now it's going to go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. So I can see it's a small, well, I know the USPS is huge, right? What if it's not as big as the U.S. Postal Service? And just, and then Tony always has to work because Barbara wants every Sunday off. And Tony's like, I'd love to have a Sunday off. And they're like, well, sorry, Barbara always gets it off. I can see that being a problem.
If Tony was hired to work Sundays and Barbara in her interview said, I can't work Sundays and was hired anyway, then Tony's stuck with Sundays.
Yeah.
Sorry, friend.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I am siding with you. Like this, I feel like they could cut this off at the pass.
Right.
But for 7 years, the USPS was accommodating. And then all of a sudden, the boss is not accommodating. I think that he got himself into a bit of trouble simply because it was something that seemed to have been agreed on beforehand.
When we worked at Station X, there were some holidays, and luckily we always had recorded holiday music on Christmas. But I always said, I have little kids. It's important for me to be there on Christmas morning. But you know what? It's not important for me to work on, for me to be at home on New Year's Eve. Let the young people that don't have kids go out and party. I'll take that shift. I will take that shift. But on Halloween and on Christmas morning, I got to be home. So, send me to work all the other fun holidays that aren't really kid holidays. That's fine. And I think that you can work it out, can't you?
Yeah. Well, that's what you would think, but that's a one-off. Like you're talking about holidays versus every Sunday.
Every day of the week,
Every Sunday, all year long, not a holiday. And some people want to be home on the Super Bowl, right? Or whatever. Like I'm trying to think of things that happen on Sundays. So I could see how it can get testy within the workplace.
Right.
But again, I think they got themselves more into trouble simply because they were doing it. So according to ABC News, at first, the local postmaster accommodated Groff, tapping substitute carriers to take Sunday shifts. And he actually picked up an extra route in exchange. But a year later, Groff says his boss told him things had changed. She said, I'm not going to put up with your S anymore. And she's basically said, you're going to have to find another job or you're going to work Sundays this time. I think somebody got in her ear. I think she was tired of hearing the bitching and moaning from the other employees. I bet that's what it was. It was just like, come on,
don't you think, like, if you have someone who's worked there for a really long time and it's kind of achieved this level of, the long timer, they have seniority there, you're more willing to be accommodating to someone like that. They've worked here for a long time. They don't have to work Sundays. It's the way it goes. Versus if you have someone who is relatively new and, when they were hired, they were told holidays and weekends are going to be in your schedule. And that's the way it is. Yeah. And then you have a constant, the boss knows who the troublemaker is.
Yeah. Right? I mean, I think that really, at least according in this case, a lot of people were just getting really bent out of shape about it.
Right.
But you can't violate the law on the other hand. If it's this religious exemption, but the undue hardship, I think the undue hardship is boss doesn't want to hear the employees bitching and moaning about it anymore. Unfortunately. And I can see that. I mean, whether you have a small, medium, or large business, if you feel like one person is getting a really good deal, like this for whatever reason, they get every Sunday off or every Friday off or whatever that somebody else would want.
Yeah.
I could see resentment growing, and that could be an undue hardship. It's just like, or the overtime and all that kind of thing. You're just done with it.
Isn't it the same reason they tell people not to discuss salary? Because when you hear what Sally makes, she makes more than you, like everyone's like, same kind of thing. Everybody wants what everyone else is. We all want the same deal, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. When we come back, we are going to talk about the WARN Act. And I don't know how many of you have checked it out lately. So basically, this gives you quite the heads up. Now, what I like about it is obviously if you're working for a company and they're planning layoffs, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But what if you're looking for a job? Do you want to work for a company that is listed on this list of possible layoffs?
What is it? Last in, first out.
Yeah, there
Don't
you go.
do it.
So that could give you a little bit of a heads up. And how many of you check out this list regularly? Because they have to. They have to give you a heads up. We'll talk about that. Plus, a celebrity doppelganger that you just won't want to miss. That's all coming up after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report could be sponsored by you. We are looking for sponsors for the Nikki Medoro Show. We would love to help you advertise your business and make you part of the show. You can email us at thenikkimedoroshow.com. The Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com is the email address. The website featured here, thenikkimedoroshow.com. So we hope that you will reach out. A young man is behind bars today on suspicion. Let's see if I can get the picture of this Pentagon up. Suspicion of leaking classified Pentagon documents. It's a serious business. The U.S. Attorney General says 21-year-old Jack Texera has been apprehended. He is a member of the intelligence wing of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. These documents were uploaded onto a gaming system, and there they sat for quite a while. The Supreme Court will be the ones to settle a dispute over medication and abortion drugs. Attorney General Merrick Garland made the announcement after a Texas judge failed to suspend FDA approval of the medication mifepristone. In a statement, Garland said they will be seeking emergency relief to protect access to this safe and effective reproductive care. And it looks like this may go all the way to the Supreme Court. Texas Congressman Michael McCall says being sanctioned by the Chinese government is actually a badge of honor. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chair Michael McCall, sanctioned by the Chinese Communist Party following his trip last week to Taiwan. He led a bipartisan delegation to meet with the Taiwanese president and other leaders. In a statement, McCall said nothing will deter the U.S. from supporting free, democratic nations, and that, he said, includes Taiwan. The United States and Ireland are standing together to oppose Russia's brutal aggression in Ukraine. That is what President Biden declared today during an address to the Irish Parliament. The president praised Ireland for accepting nearly 80,000 refugees since the war broke out in Ukraine in early 2022. Well, it is not just the landscape in Southern California that is green and lush and thriving from the record rain this winter. It's also the area's wildlife. More ground cover, like bushes, provides shelter and habitats for animals like rabbits, squirrels, rats, and snakes. It's also good news for animals higher up on the food chain. Daniel Cooper is a senior conservation biologist at the Resource Conservation District for Santa Monica. He tells the LA Times there's already been an increase in the sightings of red-tailed hawks and great horned owls. So we could see an increase in animals. You know, we had trouble out at Point Reyes with the elk that couldn't find water there, and they were dying because they couldn't find water. So it's possible that one of the benefits that all the rain has had will be a thriving wildlife and ecosystem in California once again. Okay, I want to show you a picture now of the James Bonds. Let me see if I can get it for you. Here they all have been. I think maybe I have most of them here. I think, is that all of them? Well, casting directors are looking for a new James Bond after Daniel Craig's departure in No Time to Die. Despite rumors that a younger Bond would be on the way this time, the franchise producer Michael G. Wilson says he's actually looking to cast a 30-something actor around the same age range as Craig when he started his stint as 007 in 2006 in Casino Royale. Casting director Debbie McWilliams says she's found that younger actors lack the gravitas and the mental capacity to take on this role. She says she sees it as not just a part, but a massive responsibility.
Yeah, I agree. I think that James Bond is supposed to not be some punk-nosed kid, right? You have to be an adult, but there's 6 pictures there, and there apparently have been 7 actors.
Okay. I don't know who I'm missing.
Sean Connery, David Niven, George Lazenby, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig. So you have Sean
I think
Connery.
Sean's missing. Is Sean missing?
Sean Connery isn't Sean Connery? Oh, do you?
Was he the first one picture? I don't think I have him.
I don't think you have Sean Connery. No.
Yeah, I think it's
you
Sean.
Roger
That's
Moore
missing.
right there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's him right there. Yeah. So you're missing Sean Connery. I don't know how you missed.
So who should the next one be? Got to be somebody British or Scottish, right?
Idris Elba, Laura, I totally agree with you. Idris Elba would be amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's hot. Idris Elba is who I thought should have played, if anybody knows the movies, Alex Cross. They first chose Morgan Freeman, and then they chose what's his face that does Medea. Neither of them. And Idris Elba, my choice for playing Alex Cross, but he's a great actor. Right, so yeah.
So okay, so you want the first James Bond of color?
Oh hell yeah! I mean, it's about him, but also he's fine.
Who's been your favorite thus far?
I mean, Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Because Pierce Brosnan, yeah.
Oh, Karen says Christian Bale. Okay.
Christian Bale, I think my problem with Christian Bale is this. He's a really good actor, but he plays these characters that are kind of psycho. American Psycho, he was great in. He's a little harsh, in my opinion. But maybe. Henry Cavill, no, I don't like. He's Superman. I don't know. I can't see it. Tyler Perry, thank you. Tyler Perry was who I was thinking of. Was horrible. I think he cast himself. Did he, John? No. Idris Elba was the person that I imagined when I was reading the Alex Cross books as Alex Cross. It just was an actor I had immediately in my mind. Morgan Freeman and Tyler Perry were terrible. Both of them. Terrible.
So I wouldn't mind a Bond of color. I think that would be kind of a cool thing.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even, and again, I would
buy it. What I'm saying is I would buy it. Like I would buy the story still. Right?
Jason Statham, another hottie McHottie. I think he could do it. Although he plays those characters like he plays a badass already. I think that could be an easy one. Jason Statham.
Good. What about Colin Farrell?
Ew, no.
No? I mean, he's got the accent.
He's Irish. I don't know. I kind of feel like Colin Farrell would be a good villain in a James Bond movie. Not necessarily James Bond, if that makes sense. Tom Hardy would be good. Colin Firth, what? No way.
I don't know.
Colin Firth? No. The guy from Bridgerton. Oh.
Renee, what is it? Renee?
Renee, whatever. Or,
yeah. That's a good choice. Well done, Kim.
Well,
yeah.
But he's hot.
I like
now
him.
You got the hot check off. But as far as like an action star, I'm still leaning Idris Elba. Ugh, that guy is
I love Sam Heughan. He's the Outlander guy, and he's Scottish.
Yeah, he's
so
cute.
I'm just saying.
Not Colin Firth, though. 2 votes for Colin Firth. John.
Renee Jean Page. Yeah,
that's him. Yeah. John Boyega. Yeah. He got the Star Wars, but he's kind of, I don't know. I don't think I'd be able to take him seriously, and definitely not Kit Harington. No. No.
Yeah, Sam Heughan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I'm still voting for Idris Elba. Yeah. He still has my vote. Jason Statham can come into a close second, though. You guys ever see him in, what was that movie that Jason Statham was in where he had to keep his heart rate high or he was going to die? Do you guys remember that movie?
No, I don't. It sounds good.
So good. Yes. Taron Egerton, he's in the Kingsman movies.
Okay.
He was Eddie the Eagle. He played, I love him. He's a really good actor. He could do a really good job. Alan Cumming, again, I think would be a good villain, not a good Bond. Does that make sense? I love this discussion, though. Oh, Charlie Hunnam. Now, he was Jax from Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
Ooh, hot and could definitely do it. Yeah.
What about the guy who was the lead in Game of Thrones?
That was Kit Harington.
Oh, that's Kit Harington. Okay.
You're talking about Jon Snow?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Kit Harington.
Okay. I think he'd be good, right?
Crank. Yeah. No. He does not get my point. Crank was the movie, by the way, though, that I was talking about with Jason Statham.
Oh,
Watch
okay.
that movie. It's like it keeps your heart rate up just like him. There's a really interesting sex scene in it too, just to let you guys know. Jude Law, I think, is getting a bit up there. Sorry, I don't mean to be ageist. And he probably is similar age to Idris Elba, but Jude Law, I don't know. There's just so many hotter guys, I think. Too old or bald or short. Jason Statham is not tall, but he is hot, and he can do it. The guy in the new Tetris movie, that's Taron Egerton, or however you pronounce his name. That's him. That's him. No way. The guy from 50 Shades of Grey, the movie? No.
A lot of ideas, though. A lot of really good ideas.
Yeah, no, I did not like the guy in 50 Shades of Grey. I thought that was completely miscast. You want to know why? Is because Charlie Hunnam was supposed to play that role, which I would have watched that damn movie if he was. But no, the guy that they got was not as good.
You're so good at knowing names. See, I just don't.
Kingsman. That's Taron from the Kingsman movie. He's really, really good. Also not tall. And I love, my family used to play this game when we were on road trips before the phones, where we would do actor or actress, and we would give the initials, and we would have to guess.
Oh, okay.
And then we would give hints with like the name of the movie. And so honestly, it trained me for like knowing this, but also I don't know how many times I have to express this. I watch a lot of movies on television, and I love my actors. I really, really do.
So I just went to this website.
Mm-hmm.
Google's going to have a field day with what they advertised to me. And the website is called, it's like it's Pop Sugar, but it's hot young British actors.
Ooh, okay.
And they have all the pictures, but they don't have the names of them. So I don't know who this is. You guys will know who this is. But he has the Bond look, I'm going to say. All right, here he is. He's pretty cute. And I think he's Bondy looking.
No. Oh, who is?
You don't think so?
What's his name?
I don't know.
Well, how'd you get the picture?
Hot young British actors.
It doesn't have a name with it?
Does not. Does not have the name. Yeah.
I'm going to show up this picture because all of you are I keep telling you that it's this person. Hold on. Let me bring the picture up. Because although I think that guy looks like somebody that could possibly be 50 Shades of Grey. That just reminds me of 50 Shades of Grey guy. This is Aaron.
Oh.
You know who I'm talking about? Yeah. So he's in the Kingsman. He was Eddie the Eagle. He was Elton John. Yeah, he's an excellent actor. I like him a lot. He could do it. I think he could do it. Totally do it. And he's really, really cute. And he's younger. I would say he's actually a little too young. I think it needs to get a little bit older, as we were talking about kind of the gravitas of it all.
If they're younger, and there is something to that, a James Bond does need to come with gravitas, but there's something to having a longer run for a James Bond who starts earlier, and it's a very physically demanding role, right? So here's the site that I was looking at, and basically it is just row after row of quote hot young British actors.
Robert Pattinson, no.
Yeah.
Let me see. No, Idris Elba. I'm gonna say that. And then Taron.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. Nikki has spoken.
Then Taron Egerton. You guys sold me on that. Or Sam Hunnam. Like honestly, like it's you gotta have the sex appeal, not Daniel Radcliffe. We're not having any Harry Potter, James Bond.
But
no,
he's older now.
No,
he's got some muscle. No. I'm just saying that, maybe he should be able to break free of the chains. Maybe he should be able to break free of the Harry Potter chains.
He can't though. Sorry.
And not be typecast.
No. Damian Lewis. Now he's a ginger. He's a redhead.
I like that.
He really has this kind of striking look to him. I like him. Did you guys see him in Billions? Oh, I loved him in Billions. He was so good. No, you guys can't do geriatric. Okay.
Geriatric.
No, someone's like Ian McKellen, a geriatric Bond. No. I'm telling you. And Idris Elba has been mentioned before as a possible.
Yeah, he has.
So it's not a stretch to see him possibly doing it. Who's that?
That's Sam Heughan.
Oh, that is him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't watch Outlander. I just watch see pictures of it. Yeah, he's cute. Yeah, he's cute. I don't know his work that well because I don't watch that show. So I don't have an opinion.
Talk about sex scenes. You need to watch that show.
I know, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into Succession right now, so.
Me too. I'm in season 2 of it.
Oh, can I just mention, since we're talking about shows real quickly, and we don't often talk about streaming because Tim Sika mainly does the movies that are in the theaters, but can I just tell you that if you have Hulu, to watch Tiny Beautiful Things.
Oh, okay.
Oh, as a mom and even as a parent, but Kim, do you have Hulu?
No, but I could find a way to get it.
Tiny Beautiful Things
for a hot minute.
Catherine Hahn is the mom in it, hands down. If you guys watch it, Cheryl Strayed, who did Wild, you know that book Wild. Reese Witherspoon played her in the movie. Yeah. She's behind this as well, and so is Reese Witherspoon. Yeah. And it is so well done. If you guys want something else to watch in addition to Outlanders and
I mean, if you have Hulu, then I have Hulu.
Yes,
I'm just saying.
I know. Except the problem with Hulu is they knock people out.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're the ones that knock people out. So all of a sudden I can't get in my Hulu anymore. So I don't really share my Hulu, but maybe to watch this show, I'll share with you just secretly between us. Okay, real quickly, I wanted to get to this. Okay. Oh, anyways, the layoff thing. I wanted to get to the layoff list.
Right.
Real quick.
By the way, I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. So I went on this WARN site. Now you can find it and to see if you are about to get laid off. I want to give you the website really quickly. I think it's like warn.org or something like that. Anyways, I went to look on the site. And there are websites where they do a lot of online advertising, and it's on the EDD website. It's edd.gov, blah, blah, blah. And you can find the WARN report. There are a lot of businesses on here that do a lot of online advertising. You ever see Ruggable? They're always on my feed. I think because I moved into a new place, so they're selling me home goods. They're about to do a bunch of layoffs. Let's see. I'm trying to find the ones.
Ruggable, are those the ones where like you can get a large rug and you just throw it in the washer?
Yes, that's it. They're about to lay a bunch of people off. Salesforce is doing a bunch of permanent ones that are coming through. It's going to happen and be completed in 10 days. So they give you the timeline of it all. So for instance, they'll tell you how many employees are affected, the notice date, the receive date, the effective date for temporary layoffs, and then the number of employees. So let's do some big ones. 953 people are going to get laid off from Walmart.
Oh.
Let's see. The Walmart Corporation, hold on, in Riverside County. So they give you the county as well. So I was looking for Santa Clara County. Google, tons of layoffs at Google.
Oh,
which
yeah.
About.
That's funny, Tony. Tony says, beware, quiet quitters.
Yeah. Microsoft, Amazon, tons of layoffs being permanent. Cisco Systems is laying off a ton of people. Gallo, Meta.
Yeah, we knew that one.
I'm trying to find other ones that you might not know. Jewel, which we did a story on Jewel just the other day about how they're going to get.
I have to go and come back because I'm frozen in time.
It's okay. Go ahead. American Airlines laying off 417 people. But that was they've already been notified because that was in January. I want to sort this. Anyways, I wanted to let you guys know because Tony had a good point. The quiet quitters, you should look at these notices before you start applying to places. Because on one hand, it's like, oh, they're going to have all these jobs available. On the other hand, first one in, last one in, first one out, like Kim was saying. Absolutely. Oh, Randy says we bought a rug from Ruggable. It's great. They have a lot of layoffs coming on the way. So look up WARN notice. You can find a bunch of links online. It's the WARN Act. A lot of people are promoting it online. You can read which companies are laying off people because in California, companies like Microsoft, Restoration Hardware, Roku have submitted notices that you're going to. Now there's exceptions to the WARN Act, so you might not find out everything, but it's a good place to go if you're looking for another job.
They have to tell teachers that there's the possibility that they'll be laid off. They have to notify them a certain number of months ahead.
I think it's 60 days. 60 days or something like that.
I thought it was even longer than that.
Oh, really?
So that they know like almost mid-year whether or not there's going to be layoffs in the district and whether they're up for a possibility because they go on the seniority list, right?
Right.
And then at the end of the year, you find out whether you have a job. But imagine, I mean, on one hand, it's good to know so you don't buy a house or a car or make a big decision. But on the other hand, that's 6 months of, oh my God, am I going to have a job, of uncertainty, of not knowing?
Yeah, start looking.
That can weigh on you.
Yeah. Now it is 60 days. So the law requires employers with 100 or more full-time
Is it?
employees
Okay.
to provide a minimum 60-day notice, written notice at the workplace of a closing affecting 50 or more employees, or a mass layoff affecting at least 50 employees and 1/3 of the worksite's total workforce, or 500 or more employees at a single site of employment during any 90-day period. And again, this isn't going to stop the layoffs from happening.
Yeah.
But you know what they say? Like, if everyone's getting laid off at the same time, you're all going to start competing for the same jobs. So might as well get a heads up and maybe put in notice at your rental, perhaps. Maybe you could start looking at a state. Who knows? But keep all that in mind because the information is out there.
You know who doesn't notify you?
Station X.
Radio stations.
Exactly. I mean,
they just sweep in and cut you off at the knees.
Your notification is when you get hired in radio. So that's how you should know that you're laid off.
That's right. That's right.
It's a business. Okay, then finally, check out this celebrity doppelganger. Oh, do you see?
Oh, I'm so glad you showed this. I saw this last night. He's not a beagle.
No.
But he looks exactly like Snoopy.
I know. So Snoopy is a beagle, but doesn't look like most of the beagles that I know. Because most of the beagles that I know are brown and white, right? But this is the black and white one. Look how cute that freaking dog is.
What's the dog's name? Did they name it Snoopy? They have to.
Bailey. No, its name is Bailey. It has its own Instagram page.
That dog needs to have the name of Snoopy right now.
And it's very cute. It's an English. Okay, so it's a mini sheepadoodle, an old English sheepdog, and a miniature poodle. Because everything is a doodle nowadays. But look at that face!
Such a cutie.
I know. I should have saved it because our friend Kim, she sent me a picture today of this dog. I think you're babysitting it, Kim, right? Lucky. That's a doodle, and I had to send back a picture of my nugget, my very, very cute nugget. So there you go. There's your doppelganger for Snoopy. So very cute. All right.
Adorable.
Click that thumbs up button before we end the show. It really helps us out. Thank you to people who donated during the super chat. Wes with $5 starting us off, and then $20 from Calvin.
So
and a
nice.
cute note from Jacob about Santa. And then Ms. Organic, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker.
Really kind, you guys.
And if you guys are watching on replay, and I know I can't do it live, but thank you so much because some of you do donate during the replay to the super chat. So thank you so much. We do read the comments. We do go back, try to heart them or respond to some of them. And it's awesome. And we really do appreciate it so very much. If you want to become a Medorable and donate to our Patreon, please go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com, the NikkiMedoroShow.com, and you will find the links to our PayPal, to everything that we have for you to support the show. Because we really do appreciate each and every one of you. And then, of course, we have Jacob saying bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're all so the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.